Hello guys, my name is NaToSaphiX. Today we have another video, and this time it is yet another video for Play.gg. Now, I've done extensive research on all the young talents that are currently in sort of the EU/CIS circuit, and I've compiled a list of the top 10 biggest talents, the top 10 players to watch, the top 10 future stars. To preface this video, I just want to say I'm not going to be picking any talents who are already on a tier 1 team. Don't expect a moan seat, don't expect a bit. This is about the future stars. For the number 10 spot coming in, we have Fezzer, the only 21-year-old on this list, and that is why he is down here at number 10. A player who is so well-rounded that he honestly does not look like an Academy player one bit, but he does still ply his trade mainly in the WePlay Academy League. By far the best when it comes to utility usage. This could be obviously just a Fezzer thing, but it could also be sort of an Astralis talent thing. Amazing to watch, and got the crisp, clean lock boys on this aim. As stated previously, Fezzer is number 10, mainly because of his age. You can't really compile a list of the top 10 biggest talents and pick a guy who is hardly a talent anymore, but at the same time it felt wrong of me to leave him out. Honestly, at this point in time, a full-blooded player who has been playing a lot of FPL and in various teams over the years, Fezzer is a guy who I think a lot of the sort of better teams, better than the Academy teams, will be looking to pick up in the near future, and I'm personally really interested to see how he will do and how he will fare against players that are sort of more around his own skill level. At the number 9 spot we have Joel, age 17, who took the world by storm. Unlike Fezzer, who is very well-rounded, Joel is a talent who is only here basically because of his mechanical skill level. A talent who still needs a lot of polishing, which is why he is on number 9. Great movement, fast flicks, and rarely missing is basically what I would describe Joel as. His match against Tokyo Revengers, which is basically Gorillas, was the one where I first noticed him. A player whose mechanical skill level is far above his years, but who also employs a very POG-level style of play. Joel performing so well in FPL recently does not surprise me one bit. He is, as I said, mechanically very sound, but this is a guy who is very puggy in the way he plays, and is not a guy you will be picking up into a team and just expecting things to work. There's definitely some team play based elements that he is missing in his play, which is why he's number 9 on our list and not higher up. Joel is one of the future stars who has the most potential because he has sort of mastered the things that are very difficult to train, which is movement and aim, but the team play based elements he needs to be taught. If you're picking this guy up into your team, you'll need time, but he could get there, and the potential is unreal. Number 8 is none other than MHL, another player who we have seen playing in various teams over the years and who is now a little bit on the older side when it comes to the talents. MHL is realistically one of the only AWP players who could come in and actually fill the void that Torsi left when he left Mouse NXT, and I think MHL has done a very good job in this team. You can tell by this guy's playstyle that he is just a little bit older than the average on this list. With great aim, great positioning, and overall just a great read of the game, this guy is as consistent as they come. Just like Fezzer, he does not look like an Academy player at all, and one of the big reasons why MHL is so good at what he does is that this is an AWP player who's more than just his sniper. He's able to use the AWP, the rifles, and the pistols to best effect, and not only that, this guy has team experience from various teams, as I've already said. This guy has definitely learned a thing or two from better players, and it really shows in his playstyle. A big plus that someone like MHL does, that for example Joel didn't get, is that he is good in a team environment. He is used to working as a team, as a unit, something that someone like Joel is not quite yet. Joel had a very individualistic playstyle, and MHL is clearly a team player. Just like Jennifer Lopez, don't be fooled by the rocks that he got. He's still wonderful on the block. His average rating may say 1.05, but that is his average rating of the last 3 months. Wonderful is normally more around the 1.3 rating and is one of the statistically best performing players on this entire list. Wonderful is another one of those high sense demons, and he is honestly a certified beast. This guy can do it all, play AWP, rifles, pistols, it does not matter, and this guy will just win you so many rounds if you pick him up into your team. Sometimes passive, sometimes aggressive, willing to create the space, and honestly not playing like a guy with such good stats would be expected to play. He has got a lot of the traits that I think a top player has to have, and this is one of the brightest talents on this list for sure. He still has some things to learn in terms of basically the pacing of his game and what things he can do, what things he cannot do. He is good at exploring the boundaries of what is possible in a CSGO match, but he hasn't quite learned to skirt around it just yet. And I think with a little bit more time, this guy will just be absolutely incredible. So remember the name, Wonderful. So if he is so damn good, why is he number 7? Well, we have a lot of really impressive talents coming up ahead. Wonderful still needs a little bit more time, as I said, and I think he needs to prove himself a little bit more. But a wonderful prospect for the future, and definitely remember this guy. At number 6, we have a guy who was very hard to place on this list. A guy who could have honestly been below Wonderful on this list. I had a really hard time picking between these two players. Wonderful is obviously a little bit younger than Regali, but the reason Regali is number 6 and not Wonderful is because Regali had a little bit more of a range to him. I saw him make better decisions, probably because of his age. But not only that, when he kind of made a bad decision or got into an uncomfortable spot, he hit some crazy AWP shots, meaning that he's actually really versatile. He can play both passive and aggressive, which Wonderful also did, but not to the effect that I think Regali does. Another difference in the Regali versus Wonderful debate is that Regali is just a little more accomplished in Team CS. Obviously playing in the Academy Leagues, which Wonderful has not been, Regali is the shining star of the Fnatic Rising team, which is a top 2, arguably top 3 of best Academy teams in the entire replay, and the fact that this guy has been good for so long is very, very promising. He has flirted around the main roster of Fnatic for a short while where he did okay. One of the guys only waiting for his big break. This guy is very promising and in due time. Another Mouse NXT player makes the list. It is Shui, not sure what to call him. Camille here comes in on the number 5 spot, the only in-game leader on this list, and I have to stress that fact. The fact that this guy has made it onto the list as an in-game leader just tells you basically the whole story. One of the hardest things to judge on a talent is his ability to communicate, how he is in a team environment, and especially his ability to in-game lead. I want to put out an honorable mention to CTR from Young Ninjas as well, a guy who has been standing in for the main team a couple of times and has been doing very well. The reason he didn't make the list and why Shui or Camille did is just because Camille has won more and just looks to be a more individually sound player on top of his in-game leading. At just 19 years of age, this guy has already had his first threesome. A hat-trick of WePlay Academy League trophies is just incredible considering he has only played 3 seasons. An amazing addition to any team. Here we have the best upcoming IGL. He's statistically very impressive considering he's the IGL. He has a ton of team experience. He's used to LAN and playing finals with pressure. And he's unbeatable in the Academy League. One of the veterans of the Academy League, this guy has probably the most experience out of any player there. It is both hard to keep coming up with positive things to say about this man, and at the same time it's almost impossible to stop. This guy can do it all, he can in-game lead, and as you can see in some of these last clips, his aim is very, very good. His one-tap aim is on point, and in general he looks like a very calm presence, which is very good for an in-game leader to have that kind of trait. The only reason he is not higher than number 5 on this list is because he is an in-game leader, and it is very difficult to judge his in-game leading ability. Just outside of the top 3 is certian at number 4. This guy is only 17 years old and has improved so much in the last few years, it's absolutely ridiculous. Another Mouse NXT boy and another 3-peat champion. I met certian, or Dory, in FaZe about 3 years ago, and this kid was already very impressive. You have an entry frag type player who is very aggressive, but at the same time is really good in the clutch. He is definitely more cerebral than just all aim, and this guy is just an amazing addition to any team. Not only that, he is the perfect teammate, always creating good vibes, having fun and working extremely hard. Dubbed the Young Dupree 5 seconds ago, one of the brightest talents in the entire world, and probably the guy on the list I would be willing to bet my entire house on would get to the top level of Counter-Strike and stay there. This guy has just almost 0 downside. I actually can't come up with a single one, meaning that there's absolutely no reason anyone would ever remove this guy from their team. So why is this guy only number 4? That is a great question, and one I've had to ask myself a million times when making this video. I do think that the top 3 players on this list do have a little bit more individual brilliance to them. But certian is also honestly not that type of guy. The ego doesn't back it up. This guy comes into your team, makes it work and wins you trophies. I don't expect this guy to be coming in as the next Nico or Simple. I don't think this guy will be stealing all of the future MVP medals, though I think he will take some. But I think if his career path will let him have it, this guy will be one of the most decorated CSGO pro players of all time. A lot of surprises on this list for me personally. Before going into this video, I actually expected certian to be number 1, but after doing some research, I decided to review my list a little bit. Here is a guy who I expected to make the list, but didn't expect to make number 3. It is Jimp from Finland. He is 15 years old and a player, again, for Mouse NXT. This kid is the youngest on the entire list, and he is just a straight up human highlight reel. These clips are all from a single demo, and these are things that I just wish I would have done at any point in my career. The younger brother of the Finnish prodigy Sergey, this guy is no joke. The mechanical ability of this kid, paired with his insane calmness, is just out of this world. At just 15 years old, he obviously has a ton of things to learn. But the things that you can sort of only practice alone, like aim and movement, he's already got those things down at the age of only 15. This guy needs a little bit of guidance and he could turn into an absolute monster, a world beater. Let me take a little bit of a break to enjoy this one. And a top tier MVP stealer in the future. Maybe he's born with it. Maybe it's Maybelline. I don't exactly know the answer, but for me this looks like a skill set that one can only be born with. He possesses a skill set at the age of 15 that basically is impossible to even be taught. So why only number 3? Well, it is a pretty good placing, but for this kid, we haven't really seen much of him in Team CS. We will have to see over the years how good he can actually become, but the potential is definitely there, and it's a player I'm really looking forward to following throughout his career. It is honestly very arguable if Deco even makes this list, since he is kind of not really a talent anymore. I think most people have opened their eyes up to this guy, but he is still on a team that hasn't quite broken into the top tier of Counter-Strike. I think he has one roster move that he needs to do for himself personally that will send him off to the moon. As said, a little bit arguable if this guy makes the list at all actually, since he is sort of not a talent anymore. But I wanted to make sure that the people that don't know about this guy, that they now do know this guy. This guy is Deco from One Win, a team which is not quite tier 1 yet and also not really fighting for the tier 2 trophies. That is the reason why I've decided to include him on this list anyway, and I'll be happy to explain and express why this guy is so goddamn good. I've watched a couple of demos of this guy. I've actually studied him a little bit, and I have to say this guy is straight up the most well-rounded player on this entire list. At the age of 20, I would kind of be expecting and hoping for him to showcase that he is more than, just a young talent with a great aim. And this guy, he definitely passed that test. Not a super flashy AWP player with an insane amount of highlights, but this guy can just do everything. Rifles, AWP, pistols, it does not matter. And the fact that he is so fluid and dynamic that in any situation this guy gets put in, he immediately finds a solve out of nowhere. It just makes him so insanely good. He plays a very smart and calculated style of Counter-Strike, and it's clear he has very good protocols, which helps explain how this man can be so consistently good at such a young age. He is rarely caught on the wrong foot, and the amount of impact that this guy finds in rounds is just incredible. There's a lot of rounds where he seems to be sort of out of the action and finds a way to weasel himself back into it and just deliver high impact kills over and over and over. At just the age of 20, this guy is undoubtedly one of the best AWP players in the entire world. So how and who has decided to take away his gold medal, the #1 spot on this list? How is that even possible? Well, let me introduce you to this one guy named Wrinkle. Have you ever heard about this guy? I had, but I honestly never realized how far his talent goes. But even after watching just one demo, I realized that this guy has the potential to be the biggest talent we've ever seen. I could talk about this guy for ages. I've watched this ancient demo twice, because one was just not enough. There are a million good things to say about this kid. He is able to get kills aggressively, and he understands already at the age of 17 the taking of space. If he gets a kill, it opens up a little bit more room that he can now glide into. But this kid is more than just an insane, aggressive, unhinged demon. He also can do it in clutch situations like this one, where he turns a 1 vs 4 into a 1 vs 2 in mere seconds. The CTs honestly play this round really well, counting down and double peeking on a timing, and it is the only way to stop Wrinkle in this clutch. This guy has so unbelievably calm aim when he really needs that extra precision. But at the same time, when he needs to hit fast flicks, he also nails those. So I honestly don't really know what he's better at this point. Being able to go from slow to fast is such a good trait. From watching this 28 round demo, I didn't see Wrinkle do a single mistake, big or small. He was finding entries, putting up the numbers, and just consistently putting his teammates in a favorable position to win rounds. When making this list, I never ever expected that this was gonna be the #1 player. I don't even think I had this guy on my top 10 list. That's how sort of unknown he was to me. But this kid is the real deal, I promise you. It's honestly like watching the second coming of Jesus Christ when you watch this guy play. It's like someone is straight up walking on water. There was just really an overflow of impressive rounds. And it's not just the fact that he has many impressive rounds or the way he's playing these rounds. It's the fact that he has this huge range of being able to play aggressive but then passive. Getting openings, taking space, and then winning clutches. It's just everything, all at once. And while I think that someone like Deco is more well-rounded than this guy currently, this guy has 3 years to figure his shit out and actually get better than Deco. The potential in this guy is just off the charts. I really cannot stress it enough. When watching this, I was just taken aback. I was in awe. I was stunned. This guy is just so goddamn good. And if you don't believe me, just revisit this video in 3 years. That concludes mine and Play.gg's top 10 list of the future stars you have to look out for. I've been NaToSaphiX for Play.gg, and thank you so much for watching the video.